Welcome to the Custom Protection Services Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio. Custom Protection Services Incorporated takes their clients' safety and security seriously. We have them on our radio show to show you that Custom Protection Services are not a one-size-fits-all security solution. Custom Protection Services provides a hands-on approach and is dedicated to your personal and your company's safety and security. Learn more by visiting www.customprotectionservices.com and by checking out all their social media links. Make sure you check out additional radio shows by clicking on the Custom Protection Services radio show segments on buildingfortunesradio.com. That's www.buildingfortunesradio.com. Custom Protection Services and Building Fortunes Radio are proud to be able to introduce the company and the customized security product line. And now on to our show with Rock and Peter Mingils. Take it away, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You're listening to us on Building Fortunes Radio. That's www.buildingfortunesradio.com. For those people that might be new and they might be unfamiliar with my voice, my name is Peter Mingils. We host and run this radio station called Building Fortunes Radio. And we've been doing this for about 6 or 7 years now. We've done thousands and thousands of separate radio shows, and I'm really excited about today because we're starting a radio show series with a gentleman. His first name is Rock, which I like. I could put in his last name, but I just like it the way it is. So it's Rock. We have Rock over here, and he's with Custom Protection Services. So Custom Protection Services is right up my alley. And the reason why I say this is because, you know, we do a lot of things in the home-based business arena to be able to protect the things that are important to you. So when it comes to education about, you know, building businesses and education about the legal structures and education about a whole bunch of those things intellectually, we do a lot of that stuff on Building Fortunes Radio. But there's the obvious thing, which is your personal and your business security. I mean, like the physical security, who's handling that is a big question that I always have. So I'm a control freak. I grew up in New York where things can sometimes be stolen or disappear. And the reality is I've always been a little bit on the paranoid side when it comes to protection, a little bit less naive. And I was somewhat surprised when I went into the Midwest and people would leave their doors or cars or buildings unlocked. I'm like, wow, this is kind of strange for me. We live in a real world, and you know, we've all kind of witnessed that crime could happen just about anywhere. So when Rock called me up and he said, you know, we're with a company called Custom Protection Services, Inc., and we're in Conroe, Texas, and we're building our business. We'd like to be able to promote that so more people know about us, and we're going to be listed on stock exchanges and things like that, or publicly traded. I said, you know, I really want to help you guys because, number one, a lot of our customers over here on the PM Marketing Building Fortunes Radio side, they are business owners, and they're family members, and they need security. And many of the people that we work with are pretty important, very big, large responsibility people, and they need trusted vendors. So let's do a couple of radio shows or a series of radio shows to educate our audience, especially in today's trying times. So the first thing I want to do is say, hello, Rock, and thanks for being here
Peter.
On Building Fortunes Radio.
Well, thanks for having us on. I appreciate it. It's I noticed you said we were in Conroe. Actually, we're a Delaware corporation, but our head offices are here in Conroe, Texas, and we are currently being traded on OTC under the symbol CSPS. And as you have so wisely said, it takes really a comprehensive portfolio of security in today's world. We have unusual things that happen every day from that you'd never think of. I had calls yesterday afternoon from 2 different companies wanting to know if we had a service for this new coronavirus, or if we would be able to develop such a thing for their factory as far as their employees coming in. And, of course, the name itself and why we designed it that way is that we do custom protection. We design a program specifically for the needs of that individual or corporation that no one else has. We're not like a guard company, although we are a guard company. Everything from mobile to executive protection, bodyguarding, as far as armed or unarmed guard services, whether it's whether it's residential or commercial. But a lot of people, for example, don't realize that some of the things that we do, unless they go to our site or give us a call, is that we have like the highest rated financial forensics and discovery and recovery in the country. I mean, I brag about that all the time, because it's whether you're doing a merger or an acquisition, or whether you want to know why suddenly one of your people or maybe a spouse has disappeared, and so has your money. So we're very well known in that. Matter of fact, the guy that's over that, as far Bill Stewart, he actually wrote the book on forensics, financial forensics, that is used in laws all over. So when we talk about why do people want to invest in a company, a security company, it's quite obvious, I think, to them that crime's going up, it's not going down. And if you are thinking in terms of your own business yourself, it's a lot of people we're finding out would like to own a little piece of what they're hiring already. So when you go to the OTC and you look up our symbol, CSPS, they call us and we customize a plan for all their needs, regardless, of where it might fall.
Perfect. So the interesting thing is, and as I listen to you, I'm fascinated, of course, by the things you do. It's a natural fascination for me to be somewhat overly protective because, number one, I have a family. Number two, I have, employees or independent contractors, and they have families, but we all have businesses. And nowadays, it used to be physical protection. I remember a long time ago when I was in Bayside, Queens, and I took over the Electrolux office on Bell Boulevard. I saw Johnny, my service manager, walk into the cash box, and he pulled out $25, and I see him handing it to the window washer, the squeegee guy, and I'm like, what just happened there? You use cash? First of all, I was responsible for the cash inside the building, and he said, well, we paid the squeegee guy because this way we don't get our windows busted. And I said, that's one level of protection, I guess. And I didn't, I guess I understood it, but I want a better level of protection. If I got to pay for it, I'd rather have it a little bit more professional than that. And I don't have to worry. And by the way, the guy did a really crappy job on the windows. I could have easily this is just a facade for protection. But the reality is that when you're really looking for an elevated level of protection, there's different ways to do things. And in today's day and age, you really have to have a multiple, like you said, customized approach, because you could be attacked through the front door or you could be attacked by the servers. So you guys handle almost everything that I know of as far as the weak or the vulnerable points that a company might or person might have some vulnerabilities. So let's talk a little bit about the nature of the services.
Well, and what you were just referring to is when you were in charge of that store, that always reminds me of people when they say, well, I have security, I have cameras, and I always have to chuckle. I say, well, the camera shows you what happened. It doesn't stop it from happening. And around the offices we sort of laugh about there's a couple of different sides to the company. The CSP, we have the gun toters and we have the brain toters. So there's everything in between, whether it be the executive protection or just surveillance, or our asset protection in the case of the broken window. There's room for armed guards just as much as there's need for unarmed guards. We do several chains that basically we have programs you don't even know we're inside and where we are. If we're, say, in a Target store and you don't ever see us. If we were doing a marina somewhere, you don't really know who's the good guys and you certainly, if you're a bad guy, that's what keeps people away. Visual security is important, very important. That's why we have our mobile, when you have patrol cars. But as by the same token, I mean, I can tell you, except by contract, I can't, but I can tell you we do divorce cases that are, I had a case just recently where a guy was paying his wife. He was offering to pay her $1 million and give her their house, and that was $1 million a year, and a house, and pay for the 5 kids they had to go to college. And she hired our firm, and we got her $27 million and a lot of other additional benefits for the family, and including a new house, because it's like, unless you have good financial forensics, you could be hired as a bodyguard and do your job, and you're really not guarding your client totally, unless you consider all the things that go on in their lives. The same in business, It's when you say asset protection. I know when we move diamonds for, say, Zell Jewelers, it's we have cars in front, cars in back, and instead of using armored cars, because we can move fast and we're tactical, and anyone on any given Saturday or Friday, whenever we decide to do it, and whatever time we do, which we never publicize. I mean, we're carrying tens of millions of dollars around, and so it is, as you said, what you were paying for in New York was sort of a small gang crime, but that's where nothing but surveillance would come into play. But as far as everything else that we do in security, there are things that, since we customize it to the client, they may call us in just for our surveillance on mobile, as far as tow cars and armed guards. But by the same token, we do a lot of weddings and all these wedding venues that are around that, ex-husbands or mad fathers or old boyfriends or girlfriends. We've been involved in some really, really crazy things that happen in this world today. And, that's why, when people always ask me, well, how do you promote your company? I said, well, it's like, that's the reason people want to buy our stock. It's the reason we went public on OTC. When you look up CSPS, it's like you're looking for one thing, but when you get into the site, you just start thinking, well, I didn't think about them destroying my crop, or I didn't think about them, doing something to my house when it's gone. And again, it's not cameras. Cameras show you what happened. They're extremely useful, don't get me wrong, in law enforcement and even in personal protection for seeing something about to happen and then having the physical presence behind it to keep it from happening. So it's just a litany of things that people they don't think about it, because it hasn't happened to them. It's like the guy that I was talking to the other day, as a large lumber company, and he said, "Well, I've never thought of security the way you guys approached me with it." And he says, and now I understand why, because this particular lumber company does about $2 million a day in lumber. And yet, with other things they carry in the construction, the theft they had 2 weeks before they hired us. People had come in there at night and stolen like $64,000 worth of batteries. So now, of course, that doesn't happen anymore because they've hired us. But it just goes to show you people, until it happens to you, you don't think of it as such.
Absolutely. Well, let's do this. We're going to take a little commercial break, and then we're going to come back on the other side. We're learning a little bit more about Custom Protection Services. They have a great website, by the way, customprotectionservices.com. We're going to be right back. We're talking to Rock, and we will be back in 1 second. Here we go.
You've been listening to the Custom Protection Services radio show, brought to you by BuildingFortunesRadio.com with Rock and Peter Mingils. Custom Protection Services provides a hands-on approach and is dedicated to your personal and your company's safety and security. Custom Protection Services Incorporated is a Delaware incorporated company with head offices in Conroe, Texas. It offers a comprehensive portfolio of security and protection services which can be tailored to meet specific needs and situations. Services offered include personal protection, risk analysis, crisis response, guidance and strategic planning, maritime protection, travel security, legal investigation, and POA security programs. Client contracts range from hourly to yearly, depending on the type of service being provided. The company can fulfill any client contract by utilizing a network of specialized consultants. Management has 100-plus combined years of experience conducting security and protection operations. Learn more by visiting www.customprotectionservices.com and by checking out all their social media links. Make sure you check out additional radio shows by clicking on the Custom Protection Services radio show segments on BuildingFortunesRadio.com. That's www.buildingfortunesradio.com. Now back to our show.
And we are back. Peter Mingils here with Rock, and we are talking about Custom Protection Services. If you go to customprotectionservices.com, you'll learn more about what the company does and see all the other cool things they do on social media. And we're helping to do a couple of radio shows with Rock and more future radio shows, especially as the situations arise as such where security and protection are always on people's minds, especially nowadays, and who knows what kind of threats that we'll have sometime, either now, currently, or sometime in the future. So I want to kind of touch base a little bit on that stuff, Rock, as we're speaking right now. The growth of your company, one of the things that I hear on commercials on television all the time or on the radio is, these little devices that you put on your doorbell, and then they think that just because you have a camera on your doorbell that you're secure. And I know maybe for an average customer it doesn't have a huge threat. That might be enough for a feeling of security, but that's really not necessarily security. And then, if I go to a grocery store like Walmart in my local town, which is the big one in my local town, I'm sure that there's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that walk straight through that door without being paid for. So whether it's employee theft or whether it's customers just walking out with a grocery cart that they're not paying for, self-checkout lanes, all that sort of stuff. Security or theft and things like that costs money. So they're paying for the cost one way or another. In my mind, if you have security in your business and your employees and your customers know it, then that also minimizes the cost associated with that threat, with that theft and that breakage and everything else that's going on. So security is always going to be a big growing business. It's not something that's ever going to go away. It's going to be something that probably strengthens and grows, and therefore there's some people that are listening in that also might want to grow with your company. So can you tell us a little bit about your company and its growth plans?
Well, first off, I would say that don't go to the Walmart where Custom Protection is guarding.
Oh, okay. There we go.
That doesn't come down on the Walmarts that we handle.
So can you touch on that? Because my perception is, especially at the ones at my town, I mean, there's nobody guarding anything. I mean, maybe there's hidden surveillance, and maybe there is, but I just don't see it. But I am sure there's people that walk straight out with their grocery cart. So do you want to talk about that sort of stuff since I brought it up?
Yeah, we can. Just to give you a little insight into it, the biggest thefts and chain stores of that nature are people that go in and, these are crime rings that we help bring to justice. And the fact that they'll go in, say, and buy a big TV, and they'll walk out the door and say the greeter or someone would, seize the receipt. They walk right on out the door, and then they come back, put that in their van, then they'll come back in a different door, go get another TV, and just walk out and just flash it, the receipt, which is the same receipt they actually paid for, and they'll get as many as 5 or 6 TVs.
Wow.
Because of the fact that, all people look to see, and most of these people are a little up in age and need to have bifocals to read a small receipt as far as the date, the time it was done. So that's that's how actual criminals that we deal with every day are. That's what they're about. They're out thinking what security is doing and what security there is and not. You talked about, for example, the ring of doorbells that have a camera. I think the biggest thing for the clothing industry or the accessory clothing industry are hoodies, because all that happens with these guys is that they carry black lacquer paint and they just put their hoodie on and walk up to the door and then just spray it immediately, and you're blind. So now they can go in and rob your house as much as you want. And since the average police call is over 8 minutes long, and the average crime takes place in less than 5 minutes, you're going to be the loser on the other side. Another thing people don't realize, though, is that when you sign on with Custom Protection, we'll also help guide you through into your insurance, because if you have armed guards involved, you're going to get a great reduction in your insurance premiums, and which pays for a lot of our service. But people aren't thinking like that in a normal standpoint. They go for the commercial. It's good to see Shaq selling a little camera for people, or it's just like watching. I had to laugh at. I saw Pat Boone. I didn't realize he was live doing a commercial for a bathtub, and I'm thinking to myself, "Gee, life changes for people, doesn't it?" From doing a top show as a young man to now doing toiletry commercials. I'm a great admirer of anyone who starts up and comes with a new idea for security. We pay a tremendous amount of attention to that, because it's got to be part of the customization that we do from the time we inspect or discuss what needs to be done. I mean, if we're taking a client that even overseas, it's not just having bodyguarded, but you have to have all the credentials to be able to get into a lot of countries and local associations, so that you can provide all the services that we promised in our contract, which in a lot of countries means we do things that no other company can. We'll leave it at that because of our own reputation. But as far as when people ask me why people want to invest with us, and as far as stockholders, and it's not so much we're not asking them, they're asking us, and it's like crime is getting, it gets worse and worse, not better and better, and it's, they're short right now. I can tell you in Texas that Houston is probably 3,000 officers short they can't hire. Dallas is a little over that. San Antonio is about almost 3,000. And we're talking about just 3 cities in Texas, but those 3 cities are all in the top 10 largest cities in the United States. Well, as crime goes out, from those cities, it expands the city limits, and they, cities come and they will take over, annex smaller towns, even though they can keep their name, they're actually in the city limits. Well, then there's more crime that people can go to. So we see a lot even in the suburbs of criminals who think that, well, I'll get out of the big city because that's where the preponderance of law enforcement is, and I'll move out into the hitherlands and see. It'll be a lot easier, and it is. It is because those people are not prepared. It's coming on. So
great information. Yeah, great information. And I want to. We're going to do more radio shows for those people listening in. So let me share where you'll find them on Building Fortunes Radio. You go to buildingfortunesradio.com and then look for Custom Protection Services to be able to hear this. I find this conversation fascinating. When people might be interested in learning more about your company, they can go to your website. But I wanted to touch base a little bit about the nature of your company and its growth. So can you spend a minute or so on the growth phases of what's going on with your company, and then we'll be back next time?
Yeah, we're right now. As far as growth, we are. There are probably 5,000 security companies in the United States, but some of them are about 4 of them are multi-billion-dollar companies that started just as we did. So a normal, like we have divorce cases that normally we take. The security portion of it is over $1 million just in one divorce case. As far as in hiring, we're constantly interviewing and hiring, and not that we're short, but we can only add as much staff, clients as we do staff. So we have a 24/7 on all the hiring channels that we can bring people in. But fortunately, most of us are ex-vets, special ops guys like myself, and we have a good contact in with the military and the VA here in Texas. So most guys that come and mustered out, we know who they are, and we contact them, and if they want to stay in this industry doing good for people, and that's why we have a volunteer military. So we go to there first to fill our spots, and it's a constant thing because we have companies that are security companies that we work with that some of them have over 10,000 people within theirs, and we aren't there yet, but we will be soon. It's a matter of, again, as we grow, as time grows, we have our own marketing staff through our social media. We get a tremendous amount of response and people coming in wanting to know more about it, just as as actual stockholders that are actually buying stock from off the market, that suddenly, like people realize that, well, gee, why don't I own a piece of that? That's what I was saying, that CSPS is the symbol, and if they go to that and while they're on the site, while they're thinking of that, that's why they then say, well, why don't I hire them for my own business? We secured a very large chain of people just because of that. I think his broker had recommended that we were a small company that was growing very fast, and because of that, it was just a recommendation. And now we have it's in the 7-figure contract just because of one person's recommendation that they called while they were purchasing some stock through their broker. They ended up now being a huge customer of ours, and they have over, just in Texas alone, they have over 180 stores or outlets. So nationwide, they're very huge, one of the larger ones. So that's how it really starts and gets the development, and it goes the other way around. We get people who do want us for security, and then they're shocked to find out that we're a publicly traded company. Being from a Delaware corporation originally, does the same reverse. They become a client, then they become a stockholder, and then they tell me how to do everything.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. Well, this is great information. So we're going to call this our first radio show. For those people listening in, you know, my name is Peter Mingils. You just heard from Rock, and he's calling in from Texas, and I just love talking to him and listening to his stories. But most importantly, if I had security needs, I'd certainly go to him, whether I was running a small company or a big company or a multinational company as well. You could do it all right over there. Go to buildingfortunesradio.com. We have a special page for him under Custom Protection Services, and if you go to customprotectionservices.com, you'll be able to see the website. Follow him on social media, and we'll be back next time. Rock, thanks for being here. I love talking to you. We'll catch everyone soon.
You've been listening to the Custom Protection Services Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio. Thanks for listening. Custom Protection Services Incorporated provides a hands-on approach and is dedicated to your personal and your company's safety and security. Check out www.customprotectionservices.com and follow them on all their social media platforms. From all of us at Custom Protection Services and Building Fortunes Radio, we hope to offer you a comprehensive portfolio of security and protection services which can be tailored to meet your specific needs and situations. Thanks for listening, and refer the people important to you. Go to www.customprotectionservices.com.